All right, back here on the Rich Eisen Show with none other than our friend, the big swagoo, Marcus Spears of ESPN. Good to see you, Marcus.
Sir.
How are you, sir?
Rich, what's up, brother? What's going on, man? Good to see you.
Good to see you, too. That LSU thing behind you, is that magnetic? That thing is hypnotic over your left shoulder right there.
Look like it's floating. Actually, when I was with SEC Network, man, this guy had a company, and I saw that thing and was like, I have to have it. So it's been with me for a long time. So it actually is a good product. It works.
Or is that just trying to intimidate me to ask the right questions of you? Because or is that just a Brian Kelly thing? It's not all LSU people? Just want to make sure.
It could be. Sometimes we get a little testy.
Okay.
Rich.
I just want to make sure that I ask the right question. I don't want to be yelled at. You know what I mean?
If the gumbo and the jambalaya is not good, we get mad.
I get that from my children enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right,
no
let's jump into it. What do you think is happening in the Dolphins locker room right now, Marcus Spears?
You know, Rich, it's funny, man. It's probably hard to dissolve as a football team because they actually played well up until the end of the game. You go on the road against Buffalo, you're in position to have a chance to tie the game up and presumably try to win the game. And obviously, Tua throws the big interception late, and Josh comes out and seals it. But, you know, last week, obviously, it was so much talk about those guys having a players-only meeting and having these conversations. But ultimately, this thing is about wins. And I know people say no moral victories, but they showed up in Buffalo against a divisional opponent and played well for 3 3/4 of a quarter. But I got to imagine, Rich, with all of that positivity that I just gave you, that they're reeling a little bit, especially when you get to a certain point where you're trying to decipher between if your team is good enough to make the playoffs or should we blow this thing up and start all over. And I'm not sure if that involves Tua. I'm sure that involves Tyreek Hill and trying to figure out the direction in which this organization is going to go. And these type of games are actually make it harder. Now, hear me out, Rich.
Yep.
When you go and have a really good performance like that, and the guys that you've paid a lot of money played very, very well in the game, and you think about all of the things that you would have to do if you were saying, all right, we're going to disband this thing and try to rebuild it. One, you're obviously going to take a step back on offense. I firmly believe that unless you're telling me they're going to get another prolific guy like Tyreek Hill in the building. Two, defensively, we all see that they got to get better on defense. So it's kind of like a reset button there. You got some really good players on that side of the ball, but you're going to have to do a lot of work to improve that unit. So again, man, I think it's a very perplexing situation. I think last night made it more difficult for you to just say, look, we're going to blow it up and get ready for another season. But I also believe that how long do you want to waffle in this parts unknown? Shout out to my man, Anthony Bourdain. Rest in peace. But again, brother, I just think it's a difficult time to be a Miami Dolphin and a fan because Rich, you've been doing this longer than me, and I've been doing it long enough to know when you really don't know the direction of an organization and a team, that's probably the worst place to be. You either need to be bad, so everybody acknowledges that we need to completely do something different, or you need to be a couple pieces away potentially where you can try to go and add those in free agency in the draft. But to kind of be waffling in the middle with some really good players on offense and defense, you got rid of some really good players on defense as well, and kind of you in that gray area, and that's the worst place to be to me as a team in the NFL.
Well, again, you know, I was talking about at the top of the show here, Marcus, is that two of Mike McDaniel's captains, for the lack of a better phrase, let him down. Where you know, Zach Sealer puts Josh Allen back on the field with a roughing the punter penalty.
Yep.
It's a de facto turnover. I mean, that doesn't show up in the turnover column, but it was a turnover.
Absolutely.
And then Tua, I mean, Mike McDaniel said in his own way, you know, he made the wrong throw. Should have been the flat. He threw a brutal interception. And otherwise, you know, the question about whether McDaniel has the locker room, they came out and hit the Bills in the mouth. Also with a brilliant first half closing drive.
Yep.
And they had the game right there. So I don't know what you do if you got to stay the course if you're the Dolphins right now, and I understand that is an issue. If you do need to rebuild, you want to hit that button. But the last thing you want to do also is fire a coach, fire a GM, and then start from scratch. No ownership wants to go through.
They don't want to do it.
A search and all of that sort of business, and also admitting that they were wrong. No one wants to do all of that.
Rich, it's like the way you just explained it is why I think it's so difficult. Right. Like you look in your division, Buffalo is going to be good for a long time. And it looks like New England is starting to kind of show them signs of trying to get back right. We know when they hire Vrabel, this team is not going to take long to get really, really good. And I think sometimes we talk about it, and obviously the Jets and with Aaron Glenn, and we'll see in which direction they go. I think if they get a quarterback, they can start to kind of count on things with them as well.
Well, just not to jump in here, you kind of hit that, which is the ultimate third rail conversation, that instead of throwing an interception at the end of the game, the Dolphins need the Tua that finds Devontae Smith for Nick Saban to show up.
There you go.
And the question is he the right guy? Is that a fair question to ask right now?
It is a very fair question. And Rich, it's so it's so sensitive on Tua because we've seen him go through all of the concussions, and we've seen him miss time with some catastrophic things. And also, we see those times of brilliance. Like last night, there were times when Tua looked, when he gets in that rhythm and he's just in a free flow and pushing the ball downfield. He made some plays with his legs last night. I was actually more impressed with him of evading the rush and being able to push the ball down the field at times in that game as well. So there are things about Tua that is always going to be tantalizing and enticing, but obviously, like, I don't know it right in front of me, but I think he's at like 4 interceptions on the season already, and we through week 3, which is not a good sign for what you're trying to do, and especially in offense. And think about how far we away from this, Rich. This team put up 70 points in Denver at the beginning of the season. Was that last year?
No,
or
it was
2 years ago?
It was McDaniel's first year. They came out of the box really, coming back on the Ravens and doing stuff like that.
Absolutely. So you thought the trajectory, especially offensively, and the way that Tua played and the way that they paid him, that this was going to be a constant with this football team. And the outing hasn't been bad the last 2 weeks. And obviously the crushing interception. But ultimately, man, it's like, I don't think you can get rid of the quarterback. I think he plays well enough for you to still feel like you can get something going. And then, too, like this part of it, Rich, and what they were doing successfully, and I got to get to it at the line of scrimmage. Miami doesn't run the ball well anymore. And I think people forgot how good they were on the ground when they had Mostert and they drafted the HN. Remember, we talked about all of the speed and the track runners. That's when that offense was absolutely phenomenal. And they had some runs last night that was really good, physical runs. But it feels like this offense has become one-dimensional a little bit, and they depend on, obviously, Tua making throws